Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Never in doubt. How are you tonight, David?
Well, I thought the Oilers were going to roll to that victory when they were up 3-0 and playing such perfect hockey. Yeah. And I had I was writing the game grades tonight. It was all about, championship defense and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly it went out the window for a short span there. But nonetheless, a commanding performance by the Oilers, 3-2 victory over the Vancouver Canucks in a very, very difficult, hard-fought series. Great win. And we're on to Dallas, Bruce. We are on to Dallas.
On to Dallas. Well, I've heard those words before, but not for a long time.
Yeah. Boy, they used to bring feelings of fear and loathing when we were on to Dallas. And I think they might be doing that again. Although I'd rather be on to Dallas than on to Colorado. I just think the McKinnon-Makar pairing I'm glad they're out of the playoffs.
Well, Dallas kind of, they took out Vegas and then they took out Colorado. So they took out two teams that I personally feared. And that said, I fear the Dallas Stars as well. And the more I watched them in the playoffs, the more I've come to respect and fear them because they're a pretty complete team that's coming up next. And what do you expect? It's conference finals.
No easy wins now. And yeah, Dallas puts the D in defense and in discipline, and they can score some. So they're a heck of a team as well, obviously. All right, Bruce, let's just focus on tonight, though. We'll do a podcast on the future in the future. Are two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast with one conundrum, Bruce, because it was Game 7 of a divisional final. We'll do three good things each tonight. All right.
We did it once before, David. Game 7 against LA Kings, 2022.
Well, there you go. All right. I had forgotten that. Okay. What's your first good thing, Bruce?
Yeah. Well, I definitely have to rate that great penalty kill, and especially the 4-minute kill in the last basically 4 minutes of the first period. And I think it was 3:45 to go when Ryan McLeod, who had a kind of a star-crossed night, was tagged for high sticking Elias Pettersson, and he spit out some blood. So 4 minutes is the call, and it's the right call. And give or take, JT Miller sort of dragging on McLeod in the play building up to it, but that's just hockey in Game 7, but high sticking they call. Puck over glass they call. The serious stuff. And this was a 4-minute kill. It was 0-0. Oilers were dominating the shot clock. I think it was 12-2. And you're thinking, Vancouver's going to slime one in on this power play, and the Oilers are going to come out of the first period down 1-0. Well, by the end of the power play, Edmonton was out shooting Vancouver 13-2. With the 13th shot being a clear-cut breakaway by Connor Brown, and Vancouver generating 0.0 in terms of shots on the Edmonton net. And I have to go back and watch the whole sequence. I haven't had time to do that yet. I'll bet you Edmonton cleared the zone probably 8 times in the 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It was going down and going down and going down again. They were changing. They were changing after 20 seconds because we might as well get fresh troops out there. And it was just a clinic by the penalty kill. And they, frankly, the 4 Oilers, whoever they were at any given moment, outworked the 5 Vancouver Canucks during that entire stretch of 4 minutes. And even if Brown had scored, it would have been an absolute killer. But even as it was, getting to the room 0-0 with, I think 15 ticks left on the penalty, but it was all, for all intents and purposes, over. First very good thing.
Indeed. Yeah. Their nurse had a clear, Ekholm had a couple, Brown. They were Bruce, if they do have a chance to practice, if they're healthy enough to practice in the next few days, they should put the Oilers penalty kill out against the Oilers' power play, because that's how Dallas penalty kills, is just like that. They just come after you relentlessly. And the Oilers have adopted that penalty kill style.
They were aggressive.
And they have become increasingly aggressive. I actually think since they played Dallas and saw that late in the season with about 10 games to go, it was a really impressive penalty kill. And these guys have just been coming on, and they were fantastic. Interestingly, Vancouver started to kill penalties more like that as well. And I wonder if they had adopted from the start of the series that kind of attitude on the PK that they had later on, if there might have been a different outcome. So that's maybe, like, Tocchet did a good job, Coach Rick Tocchet of the Canucks, and maybe he wanted more aggression, but he couldn't get it. But they did actually revert to that. So this aggressive style of penalty killing is hard to deal with. And it's going to take, for the Oilers against Dallas, for instance, it's going to take some really direct play, like putting pucks at the net and going for the rebound when people are coming at you that hard. Bruce, my first good thing is, well, I guess I'll hold off. I'll do mine in chronological order as well, just because that makes more sense. So the first 52 minutes of the game, Bruce, I just thought, I'm writing the game grades, and I'm writing this like, if defense wins championships, the Oilers are well on their way kind of story. And before things went haywire, but they were outstanding on defense this game in the first 52 minutes of the game. And even there was a few gaffes on the goals against, but this really was a excellent defensive effort. I saw Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl blocking shots out there. They were doing a fantastic job covering the slot, and that's what it's all about in the NHL right now. Is you don't want to give those teams. You can give them a grade A shot. You do not want to give them a 5-alarm shot in tight, a cross-seam pass, or just a bang play in tight. And the Oilers, the grade A shots in this game were 13 for the Oilers, 8 for Vancouver. And there was only 3 5-alarm shots for Vancouver, 4 for the Oilers. So the score actually was very reflective of the flow of play in this game, according to our grade A shots. And if you limit a team to fewer than 10 grade A shots, if the Oilers do, they have a really good chance of winning a game. And they did it in the biggest game of the year. I think that it was similar last game. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think, again, last game was also a masterful defensive performance by the Edmonton Oilers. And I think what going into the game, I was actually kind of strangely confident, and I didn't want to, I'm superstitious enough. I don't go on Twitter and say that. I'm strangely confident they're going to win in them. But I was thinking Knoblauch has finally got his lines right. And Bruce, for years, I've been hoping for a one checking line that you can put out there against tough competition now and then. The Oilers suddenly have 2 of them. McLeod, McLeod, Fogle, and Ryan, and Carrick, Janmark, and Brown. 2 really solid checking lines that I think against Dallas, whoever Dallas has out there, you can have them out there. You'll probably be okay. Now, any line can make a mistake, and we'll get to that. But just positionally, these guys were sound. So much so, and this was another thing I liked, at the end of the game, Knoblauch, instead of having 3 attacking forwards out to protect the 1-goal lead, as the Oilers have been wont to do forever in the McDavid era, it's usually McDavid, Hyman, and Draisaitl, or McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, and Draisaitl. They had at least one of Brown, Janmark, or Ryan out for the last, I think, 3 minutes of the game on the wing. Excellent.
Janmark sure made a big shot block with about 10 seconds left.
Got a full bump up in his game grade to an 8. I gave 2 8s in that game, Nugent-Hopkins and Janmark.
Nuge was excellent. That's a really good
Janmark
for you for a top mark.
Yeah.
He had an outstanding game, and I thought defensively he was battling real hard down the stretch and winning pucks into the corner and out of trouble.
Yeah. Well, I think both of us were criticizing him a little, wanting a little bit more out of him in this series, and he gave it in the final 2 games. That's the
Sure did.
Nugent-Hopkins we need to see for the Oilers to win. Bruce, what is
Right in
your
his hometown? That's a big time game and game-winning goal for Burnaby Nuge. I'm going to pick one of the goal scorers, not Burnaby Nuge. I'm going to pick the immortal Cody Ceci, who now apparently leads all active NHL defensemen with most Game 7 goals. He scored the first goal and the winner in Game 7 against the Kings in 2022, the game the Oilers wound up winning 2-0. And tonight he scored the first goal again early in the second period, and it looked for a long time like it might be the winner because Vancouver wasn't breaking through at all. But it was the one that put him ahead to stay on a shot through. I think there was a flyby screen by Holloway.
Correct.
And it was an outside shot, and Seeloffs didn't quite pick it up, and it was just under the crossbar, just a rocket from the point for Ceci. And it was something Kevin Woodley of In Goal magazine. He's a regular guest on the Jason Greger show on Sports 1440, and he's on a Monday, so he was on today, and he said Seeloffs. He talked about his strengths going side to side in the net, and he said about his trouble a little bit is screen shots and outside shots. He has trouble picking up, and he has trouble with his positioning when he can't see the puck. And boy, did he nail it, because that's basically how at least the first 2 of Edmonton's goals, arguably all 3, were scored by Californians, as you call them. Anyway, Ceci blasted that in, but goal aside, I thought this was as good a game of hockey as I've seen from Cody Ceci in a long time. Just thought he was in the middle of it defensively. He was making good choices. He was in the way. He was moving the puck, not great, but not, he wasn't turning it over all the time. There was, he was sawing pucks off and forcing them into the corner and not giving up a whole lot. And his effort level was through the roof. And he managed to get 3 shots on net for the game, including one other very dangerous close-in rush that wound up. I'm not sure if he got credited for that shot, but it wouldn't have happened without his hard charge to the front of the net. I think it was deflected by a Vancouver guy. Mm-hmm. And anyway, I just thought that he gave Edmonton everything he had, and it was enough. I mean, it was a big part. His pairing with Kulak were not really any part of the problem. In fact, they wound up +1 on the night, and so did the Oilers.
Since he's been moved to pair with Kulak, suddenly there's a lot less talk about Ceci not being up to snuff. Like Kulak is he is an exceptional playoff performer with his skating and his cool, his calm. He just has really come through in the playoffs. And he's been a great partner for Ceci, and they've actually formed a pretty damn good partnership overall. Excellent play. Bruce, my good thing are all the Californians. And so going into the game, I was hoping the Oilers would score one Californian, like one greasy goal. So a Californian, again, I'll explain it one more time if you're new to the podcast. For years, the Oilers would go to California and get beat, generally speaking, by San Jose on the same play. Pass back to the point, Brent Burns, outside shot, either screened or deflected in by Joe Pavelski. It happened repeatedly. And the Kings did it to the Oilers. And Anaheim, in that game, Anaheim came back. They got some.
They were all Californians, I think.
Yeah. Just this was a play that defeated the Oilers repeatedly. And now they're winning by the California, not losing by the California. They got 3 of them tonight, 3 outside shots that found their way in the net. And, eventually, sometimes it takes a bounce or two, like on so the first one is, you've already described it. Holloway wins the puck off the face-off, gets back to Ceci, and then Holloway does a fly-by screen, and it's in the net. What's the second one now? Oh, it's Bouchard. Yeah, it's Bouchard firing a shot from outside, and now it's Hyman delivering the screen. Now this one comes after a great team effort started by Connor Brown, where he rushes the puck into the zone, and Sam Carrick keeps it there. Ekholm fires it around the boards. Hyman puck protects. Nuge makes a pass, and then Bouchard whips his shot, and Hyman gets a piece of it. I never did see the replay where he touched it, but
didn't change
great.
direction by much. But I think the wobble
Yeah.
on the puck changed slightly as it went by his stick. That's probably what they saw.
And then the third one is the power play, and Bouchard just whips it hard at the net and misses, and it rebounds to Nugent-Hopkins, who has an open net, but it is just for the briefest moments of time, and he slams it home. Just a beautiful skill play under pressure. So 3 Californians in one game, Bruce. This team might just do something in these playoffs, Bruce McCurdy.
Just last game, I criticized Nugent-Hopkins for his inability to get shots away quickly. Yeah, he would receive a pass and he'd just take that look and sort of tee up his shot. And anyway, in this case, he saw the rebound coming, he jumped on it, and he just rifled it right away, right inside the up under the bar and inside the post. Like, he couldn't have put that in a better spot. And turned out to be the difference.
Backbreaker of a goal, right? Coming late in the second period.
Yeah.
You're up 3. You're heading into the third period. You can still lose because you are the Oilers. And as Connor McDavid said after the game, I think something like, we know how to make things stressful, he said. And they certainly did that. Bruce, what is your third good thing, Amundo?
I'm going to go with the tag team of, in fact, I'll be generous, the 3-person tag team of Stu Skinner, Calvin Pickard, and coach Chris Knobloch, who knew exactly when to push the button. After Pickard lost Game 5, played valiantly in defeat, lost 3-2. Nobody pinned that loss on Pickard, but Knobloch had the balls to make the move, then say, we're going to go back with our number 1 for Games 6 and 7. It would have been a real tall ask for the backup to play 4 straight games to close out a series against a tough team or any team. And it was the right decision to sit Skinner and give him a couple games off in the middle of the series rather than rolling him out there game after game when he's struggling, as happened last year. But also the right decision in retrospect, and some said at the time, to bring him back for Game 6. He played Game 6 and 7. Now, huge credit to his teammates who limited Vancouver to 32 shots in the 2 games. But only 3 of those shots went in the net. And Skinner got the job done. He made a few big stops tonight and did, enough to secure the victory. So good on the goaltending in the end, and they needed both goalies to win this series, and they needed some very adept manpower deployment by Coach Knobloch. So good on them all.
Yeah, I heard some people saying after last game that it wouldn't have made a difference if Pickard had been in net because there wasn't much. But
they got 5
Skinner
goals.
There was that huge save on Quinn Hughes.
Yep.
And
at a really big time in that game. That was like
huge.
Late in the second. They had that 2-man advantage after the Oilers had blown theirs, and the goal there, and it's 3-2, and stormed the Bastille in the third period, right?
So the previous game, the Oilers gave up 9 grade A shots. This game it was 8. The previous game it was 4 or 5 alarm shots. This game it was 3. So they even tightened it up more in this game, actually. So hey, whatever.
There was a couple of very near misses, though.
There was
shots that missed the net.
Yeah,
but
there was more of that this game, like Giuseppe's breakaway, and yeah, that's the main one. How did he miss the net on that? Bruce, my good thing is Coach Chris Knobloch's timeout. I think there's about 4. I think it's is it at 4:48 that goal left in the game?
Yes. That sounds right.
So
4:36 maybe.
3-2 at that point, and the Canucks are coming on. The crowd's going crazy, And you hardly see NHL coaches use timeout the way basketball coaches do. I mean, basketball coaches have more timeouts. So the NHL coaches just have the one. I think it's just the one. And so they have to use them more sparingly. But it always strikes me a good time to use that timeout. I mean, you can save it to the end of the game to get your team, your winded team, some extra time to rest. But there are times in big games when to slow the momentum of the other team, you can take a timeout, I think. And that's how Knobloch employed it. You know, this rare thing for a coach to do. It was the perfect move to make. And after that, Bruce, I don't know if they got any shots, but they didn't get one more grade A shot the entire rest of the game. And the Oilers started to play more cohesively defensively. They started to get their crap together in terms of moving the puck and carrying the puck and playing with the puck now and then in the other team's end. They were a different team after that timeout. So I just think that was a masterstroke by the coach. And should keep that in his playbook more often when the other, you know, it does, I think, work to slow the onslaught. And I know like some college and pro basketball coaches don't believe in it. They think the team itself should get it together themselves and find a way within themselves to do it on their own. Generally, there's an exception to that rule, though, and tonight was it. And I think Knobloch did well there. I mean, it's not my bad thing, so I won't get into it right now, but why in particular they needed it at that moment. But Bruce, let's move on to our bad things. What is your bad thing?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go right back to poor star-crossed Ryan McLeod, who I spent a bunch of time today defending from Oilers fans who wanted him cast from the herd for his lack of offense, which continued. He's like literally, I don't think he's been on the ice for an Edmonton goal in the playoffs. Generally speaking, he carries the mail defensively and he carries the puck, sort of hash marks to hash marks. He's a big time transporter of the puck and a big part of the reason why it's often in the good end of the ice when he's out there, even if it isn't going in the net. And he played 85 or 90% of a really good game tonight, but he did take that penalty. And then there was just this horrific turnover on the 3-1 where he was circling back, perfect position in his own end, took a perfect outlet pass from Vincent Harney right on his tape in the slot. Here, we trust you with this puck, Ryan, move it forward. And he overskated it, and Connor Garland jumped on it, bam, and it's 3-1, and now it's pucker up time, for the rest of the game. And just a simple but terrible mistake.
The game was so well in hand, Bruce, at that moment.
I know. It just needed clean, confident handles of the puck, and they didn't get it there.
He just whiffed on it, and it's like it's just a brain fart, right? He's just it's just it could happen to the best player on the team.
Oh yeah, it's been known to.
And I felt terrible for him because he was playing a good game. I mean, he did have that's the high sticking thing was a bit of bad luck in a way as well. So he was playing a good game. And in the last game, he also had a big mistake on a goal again. So just, I think you can make a strong play that in terms of getting the play headed in the right direction, defending brilliantly. McLeod was doing it. And now when you say that, people will bring up these two huge gaffes that he made. Right?
It's already all over there. As like I say, some wanted him benched for Perry.
It's not actually a very sound position to take in terms of the overall evaluation of the player, because he really does play lockdown defense almost all of the time. No player is perfect. So get off that. Don't expect them to be. And look at their overall rate of mistakes that lead to grade A shots rather than one bad play that led to a goal against. And McLeod's the lowest Oiler forward, the lowest Oiler center, at least by far. He hardly makes those kinds of mistakes. So he made one this game and he made one last game. And I think they were like the first two of the playoffs almost. There was one other perhaps. So he's been playing really well. Bruce,
he's been playing well defensively. He isn't scoring at all, which is the reason why there's such a short leash, So it's like Janmark or Brown. If you're never going to score, then you better be pretty darn
good on defense,
defensively, and they are, and he is mostly. But that was a big, ill-timed blunder.
Fair enough.
And that's why it's a bad thing.
Here's what I would say about your third line center. when you're, when your third line center starts to make mistakes, lots of mistakes on, when they don't create grade A shots and goals, then you're down in the dumps. But when they start leaking goals and grade A shots against, that's when you're in trouble. And Ryan McLeod hasn't put his team in trouble hardly at all these playoffs, except this last game, essentially. So I'll take him. Bruce, my bad thing is a player.
I will tell you, he never saw the ice again for the last 8:33 of the third period, never once.
Well,
McDavid took his main shift with 4 minutes left, and he just was not in the rotation after that.
They might have felt he was a bit shaken. Like
Yeah,
that's
sure
a pretty big moment. So I can see it. You got other guys. You got Derek Ryan. You got Janmark and Brown. You got McDavid and Draisaitl. They had Leon out there. As erratic as Leon's defense can be, they had him out in the last couple minutes, and he's flying around making plays. Like
he made 3 great defensive plays in a 2-minute span.
Yeah,
Leon did tonight.
He did at the end.
A dangerous pass into the seats. He made a really good play to break up a rush coming out of the Vancouver end and get it back in. And I can't recall what the third one was, but I was going, whoa, 1, 2, 3, look at that. Right in a row almost.
Blocked a shot.
Yeah.
Bruce, my bad thing is, so the game's winding down. They've scored that goal. And the Oilers have the puck on their end, and Evan Bouchard has it. And uncharacteristically, he lofts the puck down the ice for an icing call. He did not have to do that. He was wide open. He could have made a play like he usually does, and he just flipped it out, threw it away. And they got a face-off in the offensive zone with a tired line out there. McDavid's out there, and Janmark and Hyman. And they're tired. And what happens? A few seconds later, McDavid loses the face-off, goes back to the point. Janmark can't block the shot. Ekholm screens the goalie, and it's in the net, 3-2. All because Evan Bouchard went for the icing play instead of making a safe play. And I think that's in particular. So that's, again, out of character for Bouchard. He's a pretty cool customer. Maybe he just got too much on it.
He was just trying to scoop it into sort of landing at their blue line. He just got too much, too much adrenaline at that moment. And he just whipped it a little too hard, and it was icing the second it left his stick.
Just like Connor Brown
even got to center.
Like Connor Brown shooting it out over the boards there. People, it's late in the game. It is adrenaline. You got to make sure to get it out. Like every clearance has got to be hard, right? So that's what they say, and then you do that, and then it goes out, or you get an icing. So there you go. Bruce, what is your number?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the number of shots in this game. It's quite an unusual one. This is all situations. Vancouver actually had 61 shot attempts to 46 by the Oilers. That was like a clear 15+ advantage for Vancouver Canucks for shot attempts. But for shots on goal, it was 29 for Edmonton, 17 for Vancouver, plus 12 for Edmonton in a game that they were minus 15 in attempts. But Edmonton was getting 63% of their shot attempts were actually on the net, whereas for Vancouver, it was not much more than 25%. Sorry. I used to be able to do this stuff in my head, but then calculators came along. 28% compared to 63% of attempted shots that actually got through the screens and didn't miss the net. Vancouver shot wide 20 times in this game, and they had 25 others that were blocked. Wow. And Edmonton had 10 that were blocked, 7 that missed the net. And otherwise, their shots were on target. And in this case, they wound up, actually with a big shots advantage despite that. So that's a very unusual swing of one team having a significantly larger share of the one and a significantly lesser share of the other. And it's kind of a standout of this game. My takeaway, well, just by watching the game, was Edmonton defended their slot very hard. And there was guys getting in the way of shots, getting shot blocks, and they had Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players with multiple shot blocks, including forwards Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Connor McDavid, 3 shot blocks each. 2 more for Dylan Holloway, who's becoming quite expert at this shot
Isn't he?
blocking.
Yeah,
From
he's
point. He had a great series for that. He had a whole stack of them. And tonight he was one short of the leaders, but right there with them. And that's a lot of shot blocks for forwards.
That's a good point.
Oftentimes they have none or one, right? So when you have guys in the multis with 2 or 3 or 4, like Holloway did a couple games ago, and it's helpful. Holloway was really good at covering Quinn Hughes's attempts to flitting around on the blue line and sift shots through, and they couldn't get him past Holloway some of the time.
Bruce, my number is the ice time for 3 players: JT Miller, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl. And Miller played 27-23. McDavid played 20-31. And Leon Draisaitl played must be a season low or close to it, unless he got hurt one game and missed some time, 17-37. So I think this speaks to Vancouver's desperation. They were just playing the hell out of Miller, who was a force, such a force. But it also speaks to Edmonton's depth. Edmonton, now that they have these 2 lines, 2 bottom lines that can actually play at 5-on-5. I mean, they had the Ryan line for some time now. It used to be the Ryan line. Now it's the Carrick line. And now they've got the McLeod line and the Carrick line. So I just think the Oilers they've got some balance. They've got some guys who can play. Certainly have some players who can defend. And Vancouver was just desperate, so they just kept throwing Miller out there. Bruce, you remember in the old days of the junior hockey, I think when you went to the Memorial Cup final, you could take the other team's goalie and maybe one other player. It'd be nice if the Oilers could take JT Miller with them to Dallas. That guy was a beast.
You could take the goalie. I remember when the Oil Kings took John Davidson to the Memorial Cup in 1972.
It was just the goalie, right? It wasn't
just the goalie. Yeah, they could pick up
player.
A ringer goalie.
That's so funny.
So they picked up Calgary Centennial's netminder John Davidson, who's still in the game all these years later.
Yeah.
And he was one hell of a good junior goalie, I can tell you.
He wasn't a bad NHL goalie, too.
Oh, pretty good. And he had a good extended career. And I know he's been president of hockey operations for 3 different teams now. He just keeps showing up. He's
had a good run.
Personal presence to him.
Charm.
Anyway, 1737. Leon's had 4 games in the playoffs below 18 minutes.
Really?
And the 5th at 18:07.
Well, one of them was due to injury, or
one game in first game in Vancouver when he missed most of the second period. That's his low. And then in the regular season, he had 9 games below 18 minutes out of 81. So
unusual.
Most nights he was up over. He was 20 minutes plus for 52 games out of 81. So they've actually cut him back a bit, and I wonder if he's one of the sick ones, or maybe whatever it is that he tweaked in game 1. That said, I think he had 14 points in the series. So
he looked healthier to me, Bruce, as the series went along. And I noticed tonight he was using his back to puck protect, which he hadn't been doing for some time. So it looks to me like he's getting better. I'm a little worried about McDavid, his shooting. I think on one of the broadcasts they've talked about his hand or wrist problem. That's getting in the way of shooting. That certainly jibes with what I'm seeing in terms of McDavid. He's having a hard time launching really hard shots, like wicked shots, like he did all of last season. Anyways, they get at least one day here to rest. So
yeah, because they don't play till Thursday now, right? So
yeah, they gotta. Bruce, we move on to our conundrum, and I guess the conundrum is this defensive strength that we've generally seen in the last 2 games for real? And can they bring it against a better team? They're now moving on to the elite. They're in the Final Four. If they're going to play Dallas. If they beat Dallas, they're going to be playing Florida or New York. These are all outstanding.
They all finished first in their division, and then they all won 2 series to essentially represent their division in the conference final.
So can the Oilers bring this kind of level of defensive excellence against much better teams than the Vancouver Canucks? The Vancouver Canucks were a really good team. Once they lost Besser, I mean, such a key player for them. I just think that completely changed the complexion of game 7, not having Besser out there. And but anyway, can they do it against a better team?
Well, Vancouver too was the first place team, and the only first place team to fall was Vancouver to Edmonton. So at least they've got some experience in, winning on the road, starting on the road and winning a series.
Yeah.
Only 2 teams have done it this year out of 12 series, Colorado against Winnipeg and now this one. I like much about their defense. They have games like when they're in game 5 where I was just face palming for about half the game for how sluggish and poor, and it just seemed like the whole team was off kilter. And I think that might have been the game where they were the sickest.
Yeah.
Where they've had these illnesses, like Ekholm was struggling, and their whole top unit was struggling.
They gave up 20 grade A shots in that game, Bruce. 20.
Yeah, and then they turned it around with gutsy efforts. I don't know that we haven't seen the Oilers that we expect of McDavid dominating offensively.
No.
It's not to my eyes, but he had no points tonight in the game 7. And he was okay, but it wasn't like he was buzzing around all over the place, right? Anyway, their defensive commitment is good. I still kind of despair at some of the outlet passing. And there was one tonight with DeHarnay early in the first period
where McCabe broke in. Yeah,
he had a lot of time to make a pass, and he used all the time. And Pettersson closed the gap on him, and then he kind of whiffed the pass off the end of his stick and didn't get over the line. One pass, and McCabe walks in. Thankfully, it was McCabe. 1 goal in his last 60 games, and not say JT Miller, Elias Pettersson himself, or Hoglander, or one of those guys that knows how to put the puck in.
So it was Tobias Reeder.
There was some kind of sloppiness on the getting the puck out of their own zone. Sometimes you just need a decent 20 or 10-foot pass. And that's an area that seems to come and go a little bit. And when they're struggling to get the puck out of their zone, often they're struggling with those short passes. And, often you need one clean pass to get out of the zone, right? The pass doesn't have to leave the zone. It just has to hit a guy who's got room to walk it out. And that kind of comes and goes, but I like how the team is buying in, how the forwards are buying in, and the the defensemen are the ones that aren't great passers. Well, some of them are pretty tough to beat in around the low slot.
Yeah, I think the reason that I was glad it's not Colorado is because I think lightning speed could take advantage of this Oilers team. Players like DeHarnay, Ceci, even to some extent Nurse, can be taken advantage of with blinding speed, the kind of McCarr and McKinnon have. And just so that Dallas has Wyatt Johnson, who's super quick.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that kid from the Western Hockey League. What's his name?
Stankoven.
Yeah, tricky, small, very, very fast, tricky. But they don't have those 2 game breakers of McKinnon and McCarr. So and Heiskanen can obviously skate. They're a very dangerous team, the Dallas Stars, but they're along the lines of the Vancouver Canucks in a lot of ways. So not having the superstar, the true superstar like McKinnon or McCarr that Colorado has, but still
they got a lot of high end.
players.
They got a lot of high end players.
Yeah,
Heiskanen is a pretty darn
he's
fine
damn good.
defenseman.
Tanev's tearing up the pea
Harley as
patch.
well.
Yeah, Harley's a smart player.
And
He's doing
Tanev's really
well.
impressive.
What gives me hope, Bruce, is though the Oilers forward lines. I think they have finally figured it out. Really functional 4 forward lines that really work, and that's fantastic. The Oilers against Vegas last year, they had the McLeod line, which was going. They had McDavid's line, what was going. But other than that, Dresado's line was weak on defense, and the fourth line, I don't remember it. Like Janmark was injured, and they really missed him.
Right.
So this year they have Janmark, and they've got Carrick, and they've got
Klim Kostin was no defensive ace.
No, Clean. He had some attributes though. He played strong hockey actually in the playoffs. But yeah, I like their lines. I think that they have the best lines of the McDavid era, and it's not that close. I think this is just now. If they were all healthy, that'd be fantastic. They're not all healthy, but nonetheless, because they have this incredible depth, I think they have a chance against Dallas.
3 days off, or 1 extra day off helps for sure.
And I don't know if Roope Hintz has been injured. I don't know if he's coming back for that game 1.
He missed games 5 and 6 of that series.
Yeah.
And then, so he, of course, will have had a few extra days to recover. And it sounded like he was out, but he wasn't like out long term.
They never say.
Yeah, but it wasn't like they said he's close to be returning for game 6, but they also, they haven't ruled out anything down the road. Like he was still skating with the team, I believe. So anyway, because he's a big part of that team, and
he really is. Yeah.
Yeah, they really have some fantastic young players.
And they got Jason Robertson, Joe Pavelski, Wyatt Johnson, Roope Hintz, Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn, Mason Marchment,
hockey of his life,
Tyler Seguin. Yeah, they got some players, Bruce. They have 3 really solid lines. So the Oilers need that. But I think the Oilers have 4 pretty solid lines now, and they didn't have that. They would have had no hope against Dallas if they hadn't figured out their 3rd and 4th lines. Now they've had the 4th line going. Now they've got the 3rd line going, I think. McLeod's gaffe notwithstanding. But I'm more confident now about this than I would have been like 6 days ago. So.
Yeah, well, who would have guessed Derek Ryan back in the 3rd line?
Well, I would have.
With that all the time he spent in, you actually kind of did. Anyway, he back on right wing, which I think is his position now. I think center is really tall ask for a not tall player. But he's very strong on the wing, and he is so good at puck placement. My word. Get pucks deep. And if he's in a position on his own side of center, he won't ice it, but he'll sure get it down to the bottom of the face-off circle at the other end. And as soon as he gets to center, it's all the way to the end boards, and just safe puck placement time and again. And he's defensively such a superior player to Corey Perry, who wasn't scoring and not helping the 3rd line in that way. So now the 3rd line can basically be considered almost defense only at this point. And hopefully at some point in the series, someone will score a goal at a good time.
I thought Carrick had his best game as an Oiler tonight as well.
He was pretty good.
2 thumping hits on Zadorov. So that was nice to see a little guy, because Carrick's not big.
+1, +2.
He just went in there and hammered that big guy. That was good. Exactly. Well, Bruce, we'll probably do a podcast getting ready for like a little closer to the Dallas series, maybe on Wednesday night or something. But until then, I think we covered the territory.
Kurt can chip in like he did last time. David, you'll notice my Turtle Island.
You got it. You got the
shirt.
Turtle Island.
That's now 5-0 in the playoffs. I wore it on Saturday night for game 6, and I kept it out and cleanish and put it on again tonight for game 7. And so I'd have to look at all the podcasts. Like I listen to them I audit them by ear, I have to look at the podcast to see, because I'm always, whatever I'm wearing in the podcasts, I don't change for this. I just, you get me how I am. But I'm pretty sure this shirt was 2-0 against the Kings and 3-0 against the Canucks. And I'll point out that game 2 of the series was the harbinger. Vancouver led 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2. Edmonton fought back to tie it 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and then scored the 7th goal in overtime to win it.
Evan Bouchard.
Exactly the way the series went.
Shot from the boards. That was great. That was great.
Yeah, well,
you got to get goals like that.
Californians.
You do. California. All right, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.